Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, the editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. We're here today with JD Nay, the director of JD Power Canada, just trying to get an update on what his organization is seeing, how they're dealing with dealers, and what advice they're giving them at this time. So, JD, it's unprecedented times for sure. And what are you seeing out there? What are you saying to dealers?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Todd. I appreciate the opportunity. Look, it's the situation is highly fluid at the moment, and we're tracking where sales are headed, and very shortly, actually, I think as early as this afternoon, we'll be going out directly to consumers with a specific COVID-19 related piece of research to find out, but how are people doing? How are they coping? What can their dealers do to help, and what can their manufacturers do to help in these fairly unprecedented times?
Well, one of the things that's for sure is as consumers adapt to still buying or servicing vehicles online, dealers are adapting their digital operations in a number of ways very rapidly. And the question is this a short-term sort of digitization, or is this really going to have sticking power post-COVID pandemic when life goes, quote, back to normal? So what are your thoughts there in terms of the whole digital journey? And many dealers were already on that path anyway.
Yeah, I think what we're going to end up with is a new normal, and certainly when customers start to experience better digital service in the automotive space, whether that is in sales or service, I don't think they're going to want to go back. In fact, we just released a study a couple days ago, our manufacturer website experience study, MWES in Canada. First time we've had that study since 2018, I believe. And at the top end of that study, we just learned that a full 41% of Canadians would strongly consider buying their next car online. And that's, so there's a couple different ways you can interpret that number. At first, someone said to me, "Hey, 60% of people say they don't want to do it," and my reaction immediately was, so 40, almost half of Canadians want to buy a car online. So half of Canadians are saying this is how I'd like to engage with the automotive space. That doesn't, frankly, doesn't exist almost at all today, outside of Genesis in Canada or the Tesla model. So I think when dealers and their manufacturers invest in their digital presence, moving quickly towards digital retail today, I think that's going to be here to stay. So if we thought digital retail or true online car buying was a few years off, I think this situation will accelerate that timeline.
It's interesting. I think the other part of it is there's some, the last leg of the journey in some ways is sort of a regulatory, financial, transactional part, contracting, digital
Mhm.
contracting and such. I think there'll be probably even more drive from governments now to say, hey, we need to really make that possible with, as long as the regulatory regime is in place, because there's just going to be a need to do more online transactions, even for big ticket purchases like this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I don't think digital retail means that the role of the dealer goes away. It just changes, and I think that's what we're going to see in the near term.
And so the other thing you mentioned, this website evaluation study, and all the OEMs are ranked and how well they're doing according to the consumers in terms of navigating their sites. I think there's going to be even more pressure for the dealers as well to make sure that their websites are up to snuff.
Mhm.
And there's been a lot of work and discussion there. So is that you see in your conversation with dealers that that's where they're going to need some help? They're going to need to actually embrace these tools to have a more elegant experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously the car buying process these days really starts on the manufacturer website. And in fact, just about everybody that's shopping for a new car these days uses that as their kind of their opening portal. So it's not that people have fewer vehicles on their shopping list, but what we do find is that they are visiting fewer dealers. And so it just means that they kick a few brands off of their shopping list before they get off their couch. And so that web presence is really key to ensuring that you get your share of walk-in traffic.
The other thing is, and I'm not going to hold you on the to a number here because obviously nobody can forecast very accurately, but it's looking pretty tough for dealers in the short term and the longer term for sort of a midterm recovery because whether people are leaving their homes or whether with so many layoffs, there's just less appetite to be doing big ticket purchases. What advice would you have for dealers just to sort of navigate through, just to try to tighten up their operations or look at sort of where to invest their time and effort to to get ready when consumers do come back en masse?
Sure, I'd say first and foremost, just take care of your customers. Take care of the ones you've got. People will remember brands and organizations that they feel helped them out. And so, frankly, that's why we're getting to field today with that pulse survey I mentioned before, just to try and help our brand clients and our dealer clients, try and help them understand what people out there are feeling, what they're thinking, and how they think the car companies and their dealers can help them.
Well, I hope when we get the results of that survey, we'll hook up again and we can connect, and you can share some of the findings. I'm sure there'll be a lot of interest in terms of the changing consumer mindset out there, and that's invaluable data. So hopefully we can come back and chat about it.
Yeah, absolutely. The plan is to try and do that Pulse program every 2 weeks or so, at least for the next little while.
All right. So you're agreeing that we'll have a re-meet and we'll talk about that?
I'd be happy to.
Okay. Thanks, JD. That's all we have for today. Thanks.
My pleasure.
Signing off.